This is Tennyson E Stead, writer and director of Quantum Theory, founding member of 8-Sided Films, coming to you on the 8-Sided blog. And today, I'd like to talk about something else that's kept coming up in my life again and again and again because of my disability. And you're not seeing it right now, folks who don't know. I have a traumatic brain injury, and I have what's called Parkinsonian syndrome, which means I don't walk very well, I tend to shake a lot, I use a cane, sometimes my voice fails. I have the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. And one of the things that the folks close to me in my life have urged me to do is to take a leadership role in the world of traumatic brain injury and to become some kind of spokesperson, which, is an important thing to do. And I can see why folks, I communicate well. I'm an ambitious person. I haven't let my disability stop me from pursuing, obviously, my career plans in entertainment. So I do think on that level, there's an example that I can set. And at the same time, I also have to acknowledge that the work that I put into these films, right now the work of producing Quantum Theory as a disabled person is overwhelming. And we're doing all these blogs. I'm working on getting Declassified to you, which is a science fiction web series Gerard and I are working on, and the rest of the ensemble is going to get brought on board. We're doing the Rifkin monologues. We're doing a number of other things that I can't necessarily talk about right now. Writing a play for Tyler, who's going to be producing it at the Stuart Rogers Theater in North Hollywood called The Dream Factory, which I think we're in the late stages of development on. We've got a cast and we're starting to rehearse, or at least do the text work on, which is very exciting. And, that's as much as my life can handle. I would have to stop producing movies to be that spokesperson. And I think that having me produce movies and having me tell the stories that I'm telling does more to upset the status quo as a disabled person than having me talk about how I could be doing those things to other disabled people. I think I make a better example as someone who's doing the things that I'm setting out to do, essentially, than shifting my focus to communication and workshops and these kinds of things. I think that it's important that someone makes the effort to teach how I'm doing what I'm doing, but if that becomes me, then the actual work won't get done. So how do I reconcile the importance of reaching out to the disabled community and demonstrating what we're capable of with the question of whether or not these movies are going to get made, and how do I make that value judgment? How do I come to the conclusion that it is more important for me to... How do I come to the conclusion that it upsets the status quo more for me to be a director than a spokesperson? Well, first of all, in film, we just don't have a lot of disabled leadership. Michael J. Fox has done amazing things, obviously, particular for the Parkinson's community, while maintaining his professional career. And that's all I can think of. You turn around, you look at music. When Dan Haggerty, our composer, has sat me down and just run through litanies of folks, who are disabled, who have made a huge impact in music. Ray Charles comes to mind, obviously. Beethoven comes to mind. The man was deaf. That goes way back, but there's tons and tons and tons of examples of people who have had crippling or even injuries or disabilities that alter how they perceive music, and still they have made these immense contributions to our musical history and to our library as a culture. We don't have those examples in Hollywood. We just don't. So first and foremost, I think that that's extremely relevant to consider, and I think that providing that example is something that I can do. Even more to the point, the stories that capture my interest as a producer and as a writer and as a director are stories, as I've said before, that inspire and delight and challenge people. And on any given project, I pick 2 out of 3 of these things. But the real sort of nuts and bolts of that idea is that I want there to be more stories that encourage us to engage the things that make us unique as opposed to the things that make us all the same. I'm not interested in the things that I can do that other people can do. I'm interested in the things that I can do that nobody else can do. And in the people around me, I'm not interested in the things they can do that I can do. I'm interested in the things they can do that I can't do. I'm really interested in the things they can do that I don't even understand. That fascinates me. And I think that having stories put out into our culture that celebrate and that inspire us in the pursuit of those specific things, the things nobody else can do, I think it empowers people to make their contributions to society more unique, and it empowers people to make their contributions to society more profound. It empowers people, in other words, to take personal accountability for how they engage the rest of society. And I think that in this culture today, we're really lacking in that department. I think that, especially with the rise of reality television and the internet, we're constantly encouraged to look at the things that make us similar in search of a way to connect that's universal. And I don't know if there are detrimental sides to that or not. I personally feel frustrated by it because I think it creates a culture where we're encouraged not to strut or not to embrace the things that aren't universal about us. And to put it very simply, those things, the things that nobody else has, those are the things that make us necessary. And by cultivating a culture that focuses on the things that make us necessary and the things that make us unique, I think I'm encouraging, among other things, disabled people to look not at their disability as anything other than just another difference between them and other people, and to ask, okay, so what tools do I have that other people don't have? What resources do I have that other people don't have? What do I want to do with those? What at the end of my life is going to give me the satisfaction of knowing that I didn't waste anything? That's what I want to bring to our culture. And I think that if I can achieve it, it will be the most useful thing I can do. I think that's the thing that makes me unique. I think that we're one of them. I think that's one of the things I can do that other people can't do. And if they can do it, great, show me and I'll find a way to try and do it better, or I'll do something else, But that's what I have to offer, and that's the reason why I'm not pursuing my role as a spokesperson as aggressively as I could. It's a question I ask myself all the time. Other people are asking me all the time. I just decided it was time for me to share that logic. I think that I can make unique contributions to this culture, and I think that I can encourage folks to look at their lives as an opportunity to create profound change in a way that other people can't. And until that mission is fulfilled by myself or by someone else, I don't think I can quit. So that's that. I hope that was interesting. I will leave you to your evening. Have a magnificent, whether it's morning or evening or whenever you're watching this, have a magnificent time in front of you. And this is Tennyson E Stead signing off.